Hello, investors. This is Todd Thomas, Associate Portfolio Manager with Revere Asset Management. Today is Monday, November 10th. The time is 4:57 p.m. Coming to you from Boca Raton, Florida to bring you the Revere Roundup Daily Market Insight video. Starting with the trend gauge, some slight changes from Friday. We're keeping the market leaders at neutral, even though they had a good day today, because we need 2 days of confirmation of positive leadership action, but we did upgrade the sub arrow to a green sub arrow from a cautionary neutral down arrow. For the short term 21, still keeping that in the protect red down arrow zone. However, did upgrade the sub arrow to a green sub arrow there, and keeping the medium and long term at a green arrow. The RSP and the mid caps and the small caps did have a better day today and regained some key averages, which we'll see on the charts. And all the indexes remain above the 200-day moving average. Overall, the indexes have a follow through on government shutdown deal, which passed the Senate today. Overall, the 21 over 21 list was up 4.27%, with all 21 names up. The Turbo 12 was up 5.49%, with 11 names up and 1 name down. The Big 8, which is the Mag 7 plus Netflix, was up 2.57%. The Revere Growth 8 Composite was up 1.61%. S&P 500 up 1.54%. S&P Equal Weight up 0.58%. Qs, NASDAQ 100 up 2.21%. Equal Weight 1.2%. Dow 0.81%, mid caps up 0.63%, Russell 2000 up 0.94, 60/40 up 0.98, and our flagship GROTECTION portfolio up 1.36%, TurboTection up 1.83%. Looking at the indexes, S&P 500, after a strong bounce off the 50-day moving average, undercut and high close on Friday, a nice gap up above the 21-day moving average, and then progress above both the 21 and the 8-day moving average. So overcame this resistance here and back firmly above the moving averages. Overall on the day, we gapped open higher, made some progress after the first 90 minutes of the day, then sold off into the lunch hour, made lows, and pretty much trended higher for the rest of the day to make higher highs on the day. So very nice follow through action from Friday's. The equal weight regained the shorter term moving averages, but still just sitting right below that 50-day moving average. And that 50-day moving average is now flattening to declining. Definitely early in the day, we saw weak breath, but then that improved throughout the day. And of course, that's been pretty much the theme and has made a lot of bears come out and from hibernation to say how bad the breath is. However, we did see some improvement by the end of the day. NASDAQ 100 also reclaimed the 21 and the 8-day moving average. Similar action to the S&P today, where we gapped open, ran higher, pulled back into the 12 o'clock hour, and then rallied throughout the day. Equal weight still unable to reclaim the 50-day moving average, but wasn't able to get really through the shorter term moving averages here. Dow Jones, same thing, back above the 50, 21, actually never really tested the 50-day moving average, but back above the 50 and or the 21 and the 8-day moving average. Mid caps basically reclaimed all the moving averages and just slightly above the 50-day now. So good sign there on the mid caps. Actually, I want to go back and show the stochastics on some of these indexes here, which we noted today in our meeting. Let's go back up a couple here. This is especially notable. Let's go to the equal weight. So one thing we follow, and we usually use the shorter term stochastics, but on the daily stochastic here, we're seeing that turn up from oversold levels to now positive on that S&P 500 equal weight. So that's a good sign. Q's still down on that. Stochastic equal weight still down, but turning. Dow Jones still down, and the mid cap positive sign there as we're starting to turn on the stochastics. Also, the Russell just beginning the turn there on the stochastics as well. So good sign there. So let's turn those off. The VIX also pulled back today, down 4.7%, back below 20. It did shoot up over 20 intraday on Friday, but managed to close below that and follow through to the downside to 17.6. So that's a good sign as well. Dollar index was flat today. Gold resurged and was able to move back up through both this 21 and 8-day moving average, up 2.7% on the day. Miners, very similar action. Silver, also very similar action. I would argue silver is probably the strongest metal of between gold and silver. Bitcoin regained the 200-day moving average, back above 100,000 after it made some attempts to break that 100,000 level on Friday and last week. So now back above that 200-day moving average. Let's look at the stochastics on this. Also a turn occurring on these daily stochastics there. Bonds were slightly down today. Nothing major, but we'll see here in the yields that the 30-year yield was up very slightly in yield. And the 10-year, after rallying up a little bit on that yield, was up 1 basis point at 4.11%. And MAGs also up 2.77% on the day. And that is it for the inter-asset correlation. Now let's go to the tail of the tape. Still operating in a long-term uptrend on the stochastics. We now have 3 turning up, 3 flat, getting ready to turn up. So that's a change from last week. On the RG8, the Revere Growth Composite, all 8 issues were positive on the day. NASI still pointing down, dollar going sideways, and bond yields up slightly. Percentage of stocks above the 5-day moving average on the S&P, 73%, that's up, and 58% on the NASDAQ 100. Not into overbought territory, but in that neutral zone. VIX, that should be a positive 4.27%. Or actually, that is correct, down 4.27%. And that is, even though that was down, that's a positive development on our secondary indicator. Fear and greed, up about 11 points to 32 from Friday's extreme fear. And these numbers will come out again on Thursday. Bull case, initiate rally, and trend above the 21-day moving average. We're operating on the bull case right now. The news market jumps on the end of the government shutdown. Tech stocks are the leading group. And Thursday's keys still operating with now above the 21 and the 50-day on the S&P. Same with the NASDAQ 100 and Russell. Day count went from a down to consolidation day on Friday to now up 1. Now back 1 day above the 8 EMA and 1 day above the 21-day moving average. Overall, we gapped up 0.83% on the indexes, rallied the first 90 minutes, hit highs, then pulled back, made a low close to noon at 67.71, and then rallied into the end of the day. Overall, the SPY average true range is now actually increasing to 1.27, went up a few points there. Again, we know what the groups did here. In terms of the biggest gainers, bond yields were slightly up. Solar stood out as really the leading group today, along with gold, semiconductors, the XLK and the XLY, which is technology and consumer discretionary. Bond prices down slightly. The XLP was down, and the IYR, which is real estate, and jets were down. So not much down. it's just staples in the more defensive areas were down. Jets slightly down after they were up on Friday. GROTECTION bought Nugget today, which we'll look at that chart. And GROTECTION currently, the Revere risk adjusted beta 1.02. Revere balance at risk negative 5.15. That means if all our stops are hit, that is approximately what our drawdown would be. On the TurboTection side, buy of Baidu, XPEV, and GH. And overall, Turbo's beta is 1.21 and balance at risk 5.57. Now, bottom line, strong follow through from Friday's 50-day bounce. Let's go to the charts now. Let's start with some of the new buys today. GROTECTION buy of Nugget. Let's take the stochastics off. You can see the stochastics are turning up. This is a 2-time gold miner ETF. Regain the averages, and we like to buy these when they make their move early. So Don took a position in this. Also on the turbo side, XPEV. This is a Chinese EV company that also manufactures humanoid robotics as well as AI chips. Similar, not as good as NVIDIA, but they're also making their own chips. Apparently, they had a demonstration today of their humanoid robotics. They also make warehouse robotics as well. But you can see this broke out of a nice, what was kind of a cup with handle, but somewhat of a triple top breakout here today on extremely strong volume. If we look at the earnings on this particular play, we see triple-digit earnings coming up here in at the end of fiscal 25 and the start of fiscal 26, as well as very strong sales growth. So this certainly meets a lot of the can slim characteristics. It is a Chinese stock, but you can see on the weekly chart, earnings line extremely strong and a strong breakout out of this weekly handle formation and very strong volume today there. Also on the turbo side, we have, let's see here, Baidu, another Chinese name, held the 50-day moving average tightly and made a higher high off of that 50-day retest there. So that looks very good. And also GH, this is Guardian Health, a cancer biotech company, had extremely strong earnings gap back here. Basically held the low of that gap up day. That was what we call a monster earnings gap, and followed through today, almost through that 100 level, but backed off a little bit. So those are the major changes to the portfolios today. Let's get into the 21 over 21 list with the strongest gainers. Very strong comeback in the large cap and the mega cap stocks today. Palantir up 8.81%. After a shakeout below the 50-day moving average and a close right on that 50-day moving average on increased volume. So very nice move there. SoFi, another undercut of that 50-day moving average. Incidentally, both of these stocks really held that 65-day exponential average not shown on their chart, undercut it slightly intraday and closed above that and the 50-day moving average. So SoFi, nice 8.26% follow-through day. Lumentum in the photonic and laser and optical communication area after a strong earnings reaction and a gap here continues to make progress, close toward the low end of the day, but we have a very strong volume here for the last couple of weeks. Very strong name with extremely strong sales and earnings growth as well. CLS, after testing the 21-day moving average, bounced back into this consolidation. And memory names leading the charge with Micron up 6.4%, just a frozen rope in the new high territory. NVIDIA, nice bounce today, 5.79% after undercutting the 50-day as well. GDX, gold miners, Eli Lilly. This is another large cap name that's been showing extreme progress after their earnings report back here and attempted to break out of this long 36% base going all the way back to last summer. Big choppy range, and now the government looking to cut the cost of weight loss drugs and making deals with the government here. AMD reclaimed the 21-day moving average here. Still somewhat of a downtrend line here, but definitely one of the leaders in the chip areas. Veritiv also regained the 8 moving average. Credo, after a big shakeout, also below the 50-day moving average, reclaimed both that 21 and 8-day moving average. Tesla up 3.6%. Corning, which is one of the bellwethers, also bouncing back here. MDB, very nice recovery off that 21-day moving average. And CrowdStrike up 3%. Snowflake and CCJ also back above the averages. For solar, a lot of solar names were extremely strong today. And Teradyne, which is a GROTECTION holding, a little bit disappointing, up about 1%. But really, if you look at this, just kind of setting up in a 3-week tight formation here, just trading very tight on the weekly. So nothing wrong with that. And finally, Halliburton up 0.5%. Definitely a tech dominant day today. Turbo is where the big action happened today with XPeng, big breakout up 16%. Solar Edge, solar looking extremely good, up 13.45%. SanDisk up 11.89%. Huge follow on after Friday's earnings gap and run. Definitely extremely extended, but these numbers are just skyrocketing and the estimates are skyrocketing. So that broke above this upper trend line. Turbo still in a position in this and just riding the wave here. Rare Earth added to the Turbo 12. That is Rare Earth ETF up 6.03%, gapping above the 50-day moving average and reclaiming all short-term moving averages. And EOSE is a zinc battery manufacturer, signing some big deals over the last few weeks. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania company had a nice trend line break. Somewhat of a big high tight flag formation here, as you can see, and broke out of that on Friday on big volume and followed through again today. I believe they had earnings on Thursday, and this company's making a specialty battery that the utility companies and data centers are using as backup. Fluence, that was up 4.8% in the oil and gas area, and LABU, Biotech Triple Bull, that was up 3.21%. Blue Energy continues to just flag, and Transmedics, not much going on there. Southern Copper and Guardian Health. IREN still maintaining a position on the Turbo 12. However, that did lose the 21-day moving average today. After the close, competitor CoreWeave reported earnings and is trading down about 8%. Have not gone through that earnings report yet, but that did break through the 50-day moving average here last week and definitely has not kept up with IREN. Also, WULF, that's TeraWulf, that's another data center name, trading flat on earnings, actually showing up about, flat in the aftermarket. That's about it for the earnings plays tonight. Overall, large cap stocks, semiconductors, SMH led the day. Semiconductor index was up 3.07%. Also, Google, a standout as one of the leaders in the Mag 7. At a new all-time closing high, but not quite an all-time high here, up 4.04% on the day. And that's pretty much it. Very strong comeback, reclaim of the moving averages today. very good sign as many got bearish on the weakening breath. And all that matters is that the main indexes are leading the charge. Thank you for listening to tonight's Revere Roundup. If you have any questions, my name is Todd Thomas, and you can email me at todd@revereasset.com. Also, my Twitter handle is at ToddMichael70. If you'd like to become a client, our number is 855 Real Wealth. That is 855-732-5932. Ask to speak with Dan Stewart or Don Vandenberg. We appreciate following our Twitter, our YouTube channel. We appreciate the likes, shares, follows, and subscriptions. Have a great night, and we will talk to you tomorrow.